Also some trees the fall, because that's when the best time is to plant them, and we want them to be successful. So there is work being done to fix that median, that entranceway, so it is much more presentable.
I have a question on that section before you go. What's the funding source for that?
LMD.
LMD.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fence repair downtown. I was looking at upgrading the fencing that we have downtown, because right now we have chain link in a variety of places. The estimate I got almost made me cry. So we won't be doing that right now, but there is some areas of fence repair, so we'll have that done. One of those areas is by the big cul-de-sac, culvert, thank you, the other C word. The other C word. Down by the benches on the trail. The trail goes around it, but somebody's peeled the fence completely all the way back, so we'll have that section replaced, and there's some other stuff where areas we need to tighten it up. So making that look appropriate. Tree trimming has been going on, as Councilmember Ania mentioned. They spent a couple days in the Grove trimming those trees back, hopefully helping the grass grow and not be shaded all the time. The Village Market is going to do a painting project, so we had them cut the trees back off of the off of the market so that they could paint and the trees weren't rubbing against their building. And then last month, tree trimming was done on the trails to get the canopy up so people could walk through there safely.
I have two questions on that. Okay. How often will that tree trimming on the trails be going forward?
On the tree trimming, we've taken it more on a health safety perspective, health of the tree, public safety, so we don't have things falling on people. Mm-hmm. So we've taken much more of that kind of approach. The more aesthetic kind of work that needs to happen in some cases is kind of done more on an ad hoc basis, and so we've looked at that and tried to do that. So we don't have a general plan, but we really have tried to take kind of the health safety perspective on the tree trimming.
Okay, and then for the tree trimming throughout the community portion, my request would be if you can ask the contractor to trim them lower than the actual name of the street that's coming up, because to your point, as soon as they do it and by the time they drive down the street, it's already grown up again, it's a waste of their time because you can't see the street signs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I'm thinking
Lower or higher?
trim them lower, even lower than what they're doing, because they're trimming them and then they're barely, for example, I'm just going to use going up Eagle Peak, because this is going to my house now. You go up Eagle Peak, you cannot see the Keller Ridge sign. I know it's there because I live there, but there are people who are coming past me walk. They're in the middle. They don't know that Keller Ridge is coming up, and then they cut you off because they can't see the street sign.
Got it.
Because the bush is this high.
Yeah.
Instead
So-
of
the
being
bush.
down
It's
here.
the shrubs.
Shrubs.
More
Shrubs.
yeah.
Shrubs.
That's what
Yes.
I figured it out.
They're
too.
way too high.
Yeah.
When
I
they
thought
were-
you meant the trees.
You're
coming
thinking
down.
I'm sorry.
trees
No,
coming down.
The shrubs.
And that's the kind of work we actually are still using our maintenance staff for, to
Okay.
do the shrub training, shrub thing. That way we're using the tree contractor
Gotcha.
for the real specialized big
If
stuff.
you can ask the maintenance staff to please.
We'll do that.
I mean, they drive
Very low.
they drive the streets too. So
Yeah.
if you can't see a sign,
Yeah.
trim it.
Well, they
please.
do. They do it just below the sign, but that's unhelpful a month later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to your comment though on the ad hoc nature, I would just say as a personal matter, ad hoc stuff means it doesn't get done later because there's always going to be something. So even though we may not want to do it very frequently, the way that I would address that is have a schedule where it gets reviewed at least at some minimum interval, whatever you establish. It could be a year or 2 years or whatever, but at least it's on the list so that it doesn't get missed. Because if it's ad hoc and let's say it's a long scheduled task that you only do once every 3 years, if you miss it, it could be in like another 3 years if it's not on the schedule. That's why to me, the way that you manage these activities is everything's on the schedule. You don't have to do them all the time, but at least you know, okay, someone's got to look at it, you look at it, evaluate it, and then it's done. And maybe you take no action, but at least it was reviewed. So that way you can never say it got missed. So that'd be my recommendation for anything ad hoc. I mean, I'm a process guy and I don't like ad hoc it gets missed.
Well, and you can also purchase preventative maintenance software where it alerts you when it's due, so you don't
Sure.
have to manually keep track of it, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually.
Yeah.
That would
Everything on a
be-
list means nothing gets missed.
Yeah.
So, special thanks to our police department. I asked them to do me a solid, and as they were out on patrol day and night, make a list of things they see that needs to be attended to. 2 weeks later, they came back with, I don't know how many pages the list was, but it was extensive, and it's not all on here. But we have 143 segments of curb that we need to paint. 12 street signs that need to be replaced, like name of streets that are faded or stolen or whatever. 38 segments of bots dots. Those are the fun little bot dots that are glued in the street. 65 blue reflectors. Those mark the fire hydrant locations, so it helps fire see them as they're approaching, especially at night. 15 roadway markings. The limit lines, the crosswalks are either faded or non-existent because it's been so long since anybody's attended to them. And then 17 faded or damaged street signs of stop, crossing, whatever it might be. So this is, again, another list that we just got last week. We need to develop a plan of who can do this work over the next few months. Some of it's going to be contracted out. Can we do some of it in-house? That's what our next determination is, and how we get this all corrected.
Vice Mayor Nia has a comment.
I have a couple comments on the road signs and the street signs. They must have been up for 40 years that I know of. Those colors are terrible. They fade. I know why they did it. They wanted to make the town western. It's not western anymore. It needs to be marked. I would be in favor of having reflective road signs and street signs as we go along. Not all at once, but as we replace them. Some color that would look nice. And I don't know how the rest of the council feels about that, but you can't even read those signs. You can't even read the city limit when you're coming into town. And it's just something that happened over time. I'm all in favor of changing that color.
I wouldn't say I'm in favor until I know how much it costs, but
Well, I agree.
you could add it to the
I
list.
agree. I'm just saying that would
Well-
really boost our town.
If you would like, what we can do is bring back some samples and some, because as we replace them, like to your point, we don't need to do the entire city at one time, but as we replace and kind of move through, we can
And don't we
update
make our
them.
own signs, or we don't have that
No,
anymore?
we order them.
We used to.
Councilmember Diaz, you had a comment?
Yeah, on the 143 segments of curb, is that primarily red that has faded? Yeah, because they look pink in a lot of the areas.
Yes.
If you're lucky.
If
Yeah,
you're lucky,
pink is
right.
good.
Or chipped.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with the blue reflectors at the fire hydrants. Is that something requirement? Because I haven't noticed any.
Because they're all gone.
They're all gone. Oh, that's why I haven't seen them.
I always thought the fire department did that. It's up to the
Yeah.
city
Yeah, our roadway, yeah.
and some bot dot.
Okay.
Right by the fire hydrant.
Yeah, you could. That's what I teach the kids when I teach them driving. Every time there's a blue reflector, that means there's a fire hydrant there.
Yep.
So I do think the most important thing here is the last thing you said, though, Chris, which is who's going to do the work? Do we hire an outside company? And what is it going to cost us? So are you going to come back to us? No.
Nope.
You're like, hell no.
We're gonna move it forward and get
Just
it done.
do it.
Yeah,
Just
if
do
you
it.
could execute as fast as possible,
That's the plan.
that would be
Yeah.
good.
That
And
is the
I
pl-
would
and,
throw, and
here's-
if you have it on another slide, I apologize, but the street lights are abysmal also. pieces missing, they're not black anymore, and something that's maybe doggy urine resistant paint, because that's what happens, right? That's how the paint gets faded, but the street lights are also really bad.
And you know, this list here, and why I listed the help of the police department, because these are safety issues. You know, whether you can't see the street sign coming up and it's going to cause a traffic collision because, at the last second they swerve over, or not knowing there's a fire hydrant and red curbs and all those things. So this is, you know, we really want to get this addressed. Damaged stop signs, not okay. Stop signs that have the reflectors, but the reflectors are broken, gone, or whatever. We need to, those are all safety issues. And so this is a critically important part of this whole process, but because it's health and safety, it's the top priority.
I have a question. When you talk about safety, what about mirrors? Because there's a number of places I've seen where mirrors would be very helpful when you're exiting a particular street and the traffic is, you know, coming down at a breakneck speed.
Yeah. We would probably need to enlist a traffic engineer for that. But what I would ask is if there are certain intersections that you're much more familiar
I've got
than
some.
I am.
I'll send them to you.
Send them,
Okay.
send them to us, and we can look at that.
The only thing I was going to say is I'm not opposed to moving forward, but I would like to know how much all of this costs us. I think we should know. Do
Yeah.
it, but we need to know how much this is.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to share the information, but
Yeah.
and if the contract exceeds what my authority is, it'll
Yeah.
definitely have to come back. But
I think it would be great for the residents to know too, like we did all of this safety stuff. That was one of the priorities that we had when we did goal setting a couple years ago. I think they need to know what their dollars went to pay
sure,
for.
yeah, I'm happy to report
Can I,
that.
yeah, can I ask, until we address at least all these, and there's probably more, can there just be a regular segment in your report that goes?
The city manager report?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, and the council report, or the council, sorry.
The manager update.
The city manager
Oh,
report,
the
item
weekly?
6A.
No. Yeah. The city manager
Yeah.
report.
So
Yeah.
can you report out on this each time, on the status and
Sure.
how we're doing? Okay. I think
Yeah.
that'd be helpful.
Yes, sir. Roadway improvements. We have the contract, which you guys approved, I believe, at the last meeting for $50,000 to do pothole and street repair. So that is now in place. If you recall, the past practice has been buying a bag of cold patch at Home Depot and pounding it into the ground, and the next time it rains, it just blows back out again, and we're like the dog chasing a tail. You
The
just
one in
keep
front of
going
my
in a
house is
circle.
coming out.
What's that?
The one in front of my house is now coming out.
See?
No, that's on the main road.
Yep. So this way they will actually cut it, hot patch it, roll it, do it correctly, so we get some time out of it. Pavement project, we're still moving forward with that, summer, fall. We're on that timeline. The design we should have, or we do have. We got it. There it is. Got it yesterday. We will release the bid. Hopefully by mid-May, we'll have that bid, and it'll be to you June 2nd for approval of a contract and a timeline to get the paving project completed before or during fall of 2026.
And just a quick question on that. So there's no chance, and I know this is like slim to none, but I'm going to ask, no chance to do Main Street before the 4th of July parade?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Because we were talking about summer, now we're fall. Okay. Thanks.
So these are the segments that you approved last fall. Marsh Creek between El Molino and that should be Clayton Road. Mount Air Parkway between Marsh Creek and Mount Air Circle with the road diet striping, which is reducing the lanes, putting the bike lanes in to slow people down. Herman Drive between Mitchell Canyon and Tiffin Drive, North Mitchell Canyon Road between Clayton and northern end, Eagle Peak, between Oakhurst to Keller Ridge, Oakhurst East, El Portal between Regency and El Pueblo, and Main Street between Oak and Marsh Creek. So that was what was approved. That's what we sent to the designer, and that's what we have received back is the design work and the cost estimate. And so the next step is bids. We'll see what the bids come in. We know we have this much money, and hopefully the bids match that much money. If we're under, is there something we can add? I don't know. If it's over, we'll have to discuss how we address that by pulling more money to make the difference or cutting a project. That'll be the discussion at that time for council to decide how to move forward with that. So some major projects, downtown pedestrian improvements, the rapid flashing beacon system, tabletop raised intersection, and the raised crosswalk. We are at 90% plan. So our hope is we'll have a new public works director in a few weeks. They'll take that on. If we don't have that public works director, our plan will be to bring somebody in interimly to move these projects forward so they're not sitting stagnant.
And my only question around that is, so years ago now, we approved what we called the downtown pedestrian project. I think there were 5 crossways, which were flashing signs, raised crosswalks, flashing stop signs, because we added the 5th one right by, which is Vinnie's Taqueria now by the post office. What state, I mean, it was years ago. Do you know where that project, it was funds from, it might have been Measure J. I know it was through CCTA. Like, it was a really long time ago.
Isn't that the stuff on the slide?
And it was a crosswalk, so it was between the Grove and the Corral, and the, oh,
That's it.
This is it.
is that happening? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's
Oh,
talking about.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't, well, how come mine's different?
One page up.
You got to go a page up.
Oh,
Or
You went too
down?
far. There it is.
oh, there it is. Sorry, I scrolled ahead too far. I apologize. I
No problem.
apologize. Sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah. As I said, this will go to the new public works director. If for some reason this doesn't pan out, we'll bring an interim and we'll keep this stuff going. Because you're right, it's been sitting for a minute or two.
Councilmember
Yeah,
Diaz?
on the major projects, and help me understand better these raised and rectangular rapid flashing beacons. And I notice you have 2 intersections that are of concern, where people are very close to getting hit by vehicles, and that's the Main Street and Marsh Creek and Center Street and Marsh Creek. Tell me, are these going to be those, like you see in Walnut Creek? They have a crosswalk where you push a button and then yellow lights come on and people know that somebody's coming across there.
These are in the crosswalk, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that when you hit the button, they flash to alert people that there's a
Good.
pedestrian trying to cross.
Because I almost got it run over myself here just before daylight saving times came. Right.
And the Marsh Creek Road and Main Street is a raised tabletop, so it actually is.
It's a trapezoid.
It's a big speed bump that you cross, the size of a crosswalk. So it slows people down, makes them stop, but also alerts people driving that there are pedestrians.
The kids on their e-bikes could use it as a ramp.
That would be awesome. I would. Pedestrian improvement, install ADA accessible pathway between 4 Oaks Lane and Pine Hollow. This is something that came up in a couple of discussions in other meetings. That plan was put into place, and CSG was working on the design, and it's at 60%. They sent it to me a week or so ago, and it was to use Measure J funds and a TDA grant to fund that. The total price of putting that pathway in is $200K.
How soon can we do it?
As soon as I get back to CSG and finalize the plans, and then we'll have to notify the homeowners because we do have a couple of houses there that have encroached on the easement with their beautification. And so we need to let them know that this is coming. And so before we go in there, we would like them to move back to the line.
This
So
is the area that I think
Yeah.
Mr. Cinquet was very
Correct.
passionate about when he
Yes.
had come to meetings. I actually think this would be a great improvement for especially young students as they go to school. So this is precisely the type of project where it is completely appropriate to use one-time funds because it creates a sidewalk that is going, well, this says ADA accessible. I'm just going to assume it's a sidewalk for
Yes.
now.
Yes.
It creates like an asset for the city that all the future students, from that direction at least, can use.
Right.
So to me, that's incredibly appropriate as a one-time cost. So the faster that this can be done, the better.
Sometimes
But,
there's,
oh, go ahead.
sometimes there's residents that can be very resistive in that area. If it's our property they're encroaching on, can we just clear it? Or is that going to take a court process? That's why I said it.
That's why he was looking at me. It wouldn't take a court process, but we should provide appropriate notice to allow them to clear it and remove. I don't know if it's just,
It's plants and flowers and.
yeah, to allow
It's
them
not a
to
building? It's not a building, it's plants?
It's landscaping, it sounds like, so that they can potentially move it and relocate it to their own property.
And my only question, you said there was a $200,000 price tag. I think the grant at the time was like $65,000. Is that still the case? Do we still have some money coming in? Okay, I hope we do.
We have some exploring to do.
What's that?
We have some exploring to do on that
Okay.
piece. Cardinate Trail repair from the storm damage, that is with CSG. You approved that contract a couple meetings ago so that they can start that design work and develop the scope of work. And then let us know all the fund permits that we're going to have to acquire to do the work in the stream bed.
That's the one where we got some funding for
Correct.
from FEMA, so
Yes.
good on us. And now we need to actually put it to good use.
Yes.
Okay. So, wait, let me see. Is there more? Hold on.
There's no more.
Okay. So, as a good PM, every single one of these should have dates. So, I know you don't have them now, and a lot of them will be TBD. But if there's no date, like either the next major milestone or the completion date, then the next thing should be a date for when that is going to happen. So, either an actual date or a date for a date. That way, it can, like, the residents and everyone could see all of these things are flowing. We know when. I'm not going to bug you about it because it's not due until it becomes due. So,
And a cost.
cost.
And a
too.
cost estimate,
Cost is
yeah.
good.
Yes, we can work on that. In conclusion of that, this is a small bite of what we're working on. There's more that needs to be done. There are other items that are, I don't want to say low-hanging fruit, but they're things that we need to address that didn't make the list, but we're aware of. I spent a couple of days 2 weeks ago just driving with a notepad and potholes, curbs, sidewalks, trees, shrubs.
Like while you were driving, you were.
Audio notes, yeah, there you go. I stopped, pulled over, made the notes, and then continued to drive.
Okay.
Untrue.
Just making
I
sure.
don't believe you.
Safety first.
Just making sure.
I had my helmet on. So, like I said, there's a whole other list of things and one-off little pieces here, there, everywhere. One of the things, if you notice over at Endeavor Hall, there used to be all those concrete parking blocks that were all busted to heck. The majority of them were busted, chunks of concrete laying there. Those have been removed. Rebar's been removed. So they're no longer trip hazards. They're no longer going to, if you go to any park, if you go to Target, there's no parking pad at every, you just park within the lines. So eliminating trip hazards is critical for us. That also allows that parking lot to be utilized as a rentable space for other activities that we want to do, and we don't have tripping hazards down the middle of it. So it was a win-win. So that was accomplished last week. So there's just ongoing things that we are addressing as needed. And the final piece, and this has been something I think you guys have been talking about long before I started working here, is 311, having the ability for our residents to take a picture, geolocate, and report whatever, a tree, a bush, a pothole, whatever, and that comes into us. We are ready to launch that tomorrow. That is one of the new modules, as our part of our new website, and I'll get into that during my city manager report, but I felt it important to mention that as part of this presentation, that we finally have that implementation so that we will have a workflow. Those are items that when they come in, they will be trackable. They will be assigned to a staff person. That staff person will then report when they've completed the work. So there should be a closed circle on all of these things. So that's good news, that it works 100% correctly. But that's part of the implementation, and it's only going to work as well as our Public Works Director utilizes that tool to assign work on a weekly basis and make sure that they're tracking what's happening.
So which of, do you?
I want to add it on before he leaves the Endeavor Hall parking lot. One of the things that was pointed out, particularly because of the poor lighting over there, is that little garden, and I think I sent you a photograph of it, and if not, I'll resend it, but there's a little garden, I guess, or a little tree area or plot area on the exiting from the gate that goes into the parking lot. And at night particularly, it's a hazard. People are potentially going to trip and fall because that area is not part of the pavement. And I don't know what to suggest. It just needs to be looked at since you're removing some of those parking blocks.
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Which of these items, especially on the major projects, do you need that exceeds your authority to just do, that you need approval for? Because I think when we last budget audit meeting, we had talked about some of these things, but not all. And the ask was bring us something that we can approve so that you can go do work. So which of these fit that bill? Any at this point, or is it still TBD?
They'll come back when we have the contracts ready for the work. So perfect example is 4 Oaks Lane to Pine Hollow. When we get that contract, we're totally complete, and we have a timeline working with the neighbors and all of that. We'll bring that contract back for approval.
Oh,
Sorry,
can you do it again?
I can do it again. One take.
Okay, so when it's ready, you'll bring it.
When it's ready, we'll bring it back, and you'll approve the contract and the full scope of the plan. Yep.
Okay, sounds good. All right, does that conclude your presentation? Is there any other questions for staff?
I have just one request for the safety piece. Oak Street coming, the ramp. A lot of people go up that the wrong way. And I know you said that you're going to have that flashing beacon, but will you also have something that's brighter that tells people not to go up that way? It says it do not enter, but people still go up the ramp from the bocce courts out of town.
Wait, they go the wrong way on a one-way
Every Friday
street?
night. Yes,
Seems dangerous.
it's very. Ask the chief. There probably is.
After bocce?
But
yes.
it already says do not enter, but they do it anyway. And I'm wondering if don't do spikes. if the I don't know, PD or engineer or somebody can look at that. There needs to be something else that's done there. Yeah. Every Friday night somebody does it, and then the cars coming down the ramp have to flash at them and honk, and we scream from the bocce courts to tell them to stop. Sometimes they hear us, and sometimes they don't, and they end up on Clayton Road facing traffic, and then figure it out and have to do a U-turn into the parking. Like they have to come in the wrong way to get right.
They don't get hit first.
Chief,
Several accidents on my ear.
We will take a look. Thank
I was
you.
going to say, Chief, now you know.
I-
Friday nights after bocce.
I couldn't even
Patrol
imagine
car.
that would be a thing.
I know.
It's every Friday. When I've been at bocce.
Let's not, we shouldn't do that. So, okay, I'm not sure. Do we need public comment on this item? All right, public comment on item 5C, the city beautification and project update. Seeing none, I will close public comment, and that concludes that. Thank you very much for the update. It's helpful. Okay, items. Yes, sorry, I can read the number. Item 6 report, city manager report.
All right, I'll be brief this evening. Quick update, Public Works Director. We've done the first round of reviews. We'll be bringing 8 candidates forward next week for interviews. We're trying to move quickly on this position because we've been without it for just a minute. So that's, and we had a total of 57 applications thus far. 12 of them met the MQs, and we whittled that down to bring 8 in for the interview. So that's looking hopeful. Website update, we are in the middle of bringing modules online, which is part of Civic Plus. PRA requests, 311 that I mentioned, activation. There's a couple other modules that we are rolling out, and we'll be announcing those in the coming weeks. Skylar has done a nice job leading this charge. Yes, that gentleman back there with the beautiful beard. So thank you to him. And while we're talking about Skylar, we attended his graduation from the Contra Costa Leadership Academy last week, and he. So now we have greater expectations from him. Oh, we're going to clap. We're going to clap. And this week, the graduates will be presenting at the Public Managers Association meeting, and one of the presenters is our very own Skylar. So I have high expectations of him making us look good in front of the other cities. So he'll do well. That concludes my report for this evening.
I have a question relative to the Public Works. Is PE designation, professional engineer, not a requirement?
Not a requirement.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
If you know a guy.
No, but yeah, I know. But usually, most public works managers have a professional engineer's rating.
So there's two. We did do that initially, and it didn't work out for us, so we reduced it to a Public Works Director. And any specialized engineering stamp that we'll need, we have CSG on contract to do that. So cities either have one that is both. Larger cities will have a Public Works Director and a city engineer. So.
Excellent. All right. Item 6B, City Council reports. They can be found in the agenda packet. So next item is item 7A. This is introducing an ordinance to amend, this is the one we talked about earlier, to amend the Clayton Municipal Code. A lot of subsections for housing. Please, Craig, take us away.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Wan and council members. I'm actually going to share my screen, and I think, am I still a panelist? Okay. Prepared a little PowerPoint for you. Let me go ahead and expand that.
Oh, I forgot to say I need to open the public hearing.
Yes.
Where's your gavel?
I don't have it.
Okay. Thank you. So this evening, we are here to receive the Planning Commission Resolution number 04-2026 with a recommendation that the City Council of the City of Clayton adopt the ordinance amending the Clayton Municipal Code, Section 1736.079 of Chapter 17 36, which are the general regulations of Title 17 of the City of Clayton's Municipal Code. This is specific language that would allow certain residential housing as by right with specific affordable housing language and defining by right as it relates to certain affordable housing element opportunity sites. The recommendation this evening from staff is to receive the project overview, conduct a public hearing, accept written and spoken testimony, and close the public hearing. So the background on this, as I'm sure everyone is well aware, on January 2023, the City Council certified the final EIR, and in January 24, the City Council adopted amendments to the official zoning map and municipal zoning code. Thereafter, the housing element update and the zoning amendments were forwarded to the State Department of Housing and Community Development Agency in Sacramento. And since then, the city has made 2 amendments to the municipal code at the request of HCD related to the housing element update. Now, the most current amendments that are before you are refinements of a previous amendment that was brought not too long ago in January and was approved by the City Council. They were also forwarded to the Housing and Community Development Department, and they have brought back additional comments, things that they have asked for. And specifically, there are 3 items, and they are sites that are identified to accommodate the shortfalls in the regional housing needs assessment, that they be allowed by right when at least 20% of the homes are dedicated to affordable housing. 2, ensure that rezone requirements prevail in cases where a base zone has lower densities than the required minimums. And 3, the term by right needs to be in the code as it relates to housing and is required by state standards to be supported by our code. So it needs to be in there where it previously was not. It was just basically referenced to and assumed that by right was as the state intended. Now, this slide in the PowerPoint is the amendment to the title 1736-079. The 3 sections that were requested by the HCD are in 3 different shades of blue, and the black and is also underlined, but I wasn't going to read this unless you want me to. Okay, thank you. And so I am available for questions. That ends my presentation.
Councilmember Diaz?
Is this going to end at some point?
You ask me that every time.
Let me tell you something. When I was up at the
Charlie Brown.
League of California Cities meeting in Sacramento, I must have talked to at least a dozen city representatives. All had their plans approved. Is there a gremlin up there that doesn't like Clayton?
There has to be.
There has to be. There's got to be some sort of
you
why
believe in
Clayton has been
gremlins-
singled out is absolutely appalling. And I don't know how we find out what's going on, but this has been going. We're going to be celebrating another birthday with this thing.
Well, we're doing
the
better than
time for
14 other
speculation
cities.
is probably not now. I think we should probably
No,
get it approved.
okay. I just want to make my objection known that this is something's going on there that we need to find out at some point. Thank you.
Well, I had a very frank conversation with HCD about this. I said, tell us what you want here. And this is the wording that they said. So when I send this in tomorrow, I am going to ask them to provide some sort of interim.
Do you have to wait for the second reading?
Well, this is part of the conversation that I had with them. They want to see it. They want to make sure that we're taking action on it. But yes, it will be the second reading before it goes and passes through their official workflow.
So this language was provided by them
That is correct.
in an email? Like in a written form?
Yes.
See the email?
Yes.
Like actual evidence?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I'm not even going to ask the question I was going to ask.
So we just hope this is it, right? We don't want to jinx ourselves, but it is,
These are those things that we have zero control of, and we're at their mercy. We
Let's,
thought we were.
let's hold all these until we get it approved.
So I just think that, we're hopeful. There's been no other requests other than this one. So,
We're
yeah,
always doing our best to comply.
absolutely.
Okay. I did have one question, just as a clarifying matter, I think as a legal matter. So this actually I have two questions. There's 3 sections of the code that are being amended. On the bottom one, am I just reading this correctly that says by right means exempt from CEQA? Is that how I should be reading it?
Yes.
Okay. So anything by right means no CEQA. Okay, cool. And then in the first section, this says this portion is when there is a shortfall in the lower income RENA component, then this applies. Is the converse also true? If there is not a shortfall in the RENA for the lower income bracket of the RENA requirement, that then this would not apply? Is that also true?
There is a shortfall. That's why this language is in there. I'm sorry. There already is a shortfall identified, which is why this language is in.
There's a shortfall in what we approved for lower income zoning?
I think it's from previous sites, if I recall. It's carryover sites from past housing elements. So this language is applicable, presuming the housing development has 20% affordable at lower incomes.
Okay, maybe let's bring it up a level. Let's take Clayton off the top. But if there were no shortfall, then
Correct.
this would
Then
not apply?
This would have not been necessary.
Okay, so we could have this language in here, and if there's no shortfall, then this provision wouldn't kick in.
Correct.
Okay, that was my question. Okay, cool. That's all I got. Anyone else have questions? Okay, public comment? Oh, wait, I think no, that's something else. Okay. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. I think I already opened the public hearing, took public comment. Now we conducted the public hearing, accepted any testimony. I will close the public hearing. And now we need a motion. Would anyone like to move this one again?
I'll make a motion to, what are the?
To
what's the-
introduce.
To introduce what? Where is it?
It's functionally the title
I
of
gotta
the
find it.
subject.
Hold on. I'm backwards.
You have it?
Yes. I will make a motion to introduce an ordinance amending the Clayton Municipal Code subsection, do I have to read the whole thing? I do? Okay. 17.36.079 to Chapter 17.36, General Regulations of Title 17, Zoning, to add specific language allowing certain affordable housing by right and defining by right.
I'll second.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
Aye.
Councilmember Tripiano,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ania,
Yes.
Mayor Juan.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted with the vote of 5-0.
Before we move on, can I ask Craig a question? Not
Full
about this.
question? Yeah.
Sure.
Craig, I wanted to ask you, if we get more affordable apartments in town that you're aware of, does that reduce our count? And I'm talking about Diamond Terrace. Those are now affordable. In fact, the county is placing people there.
The way I understand it is that during this period, we're supposed to provide 570 new housing units. So just because it's changed from one
One type,
income level to another
yes.
does not change the amount of housing that we need to provide. Does
Will
that
it in
answer
the
your question?
future? Yeah, you answered it right. Would it change in the future, like in 5 years and we have to do this again?
I'd have
Would
to
that be
give,
counted then?
The way I understand it is this is supposed to be new housing.
New. Oh, just
New.
Okay,
So, like-
that answers it, new.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Now moving on to item 8A. This is reviewing the FY26 budget status, consider approval of FY27 budget revisions and reserve options. Who's kicking us off? Mr. Bozanik.
Thank you very much. So we have I've provided the council and the members or the community who are here a revised presentation for today in order to address a concern that the budget status update for 26, the end of year calculations, I was not comfortable with those that were provided last week. So I'm going to bring those back at a future meeting. Just the end of year calculations were wrong. I want to make them right. I want to make them as accurate as I can. They're a rather complex calculation, and so I didn't feel comfortable presenting those today in this particular venue. Just noting that the other statistics in terms of what we had for an adopted budget, what we had for an adjusted budget, and where we are as of March 31st are all accurate. It is a question just of those year-end numbers that weren't quite correct. So that still leaves us some proposed budget revisions for FY27 to talk about today, the status of the fund balance and reserves, as well as the options for 27 budget augmentations. We'll still cover all of those today. And then the recommended actions at the end would be to provide some direction on potential reserve-funded budget augmentations for FY27. And then the plan would be to come back on April 21st to review those year-to-date and end-of-year budget statuses for you once I can get comfortable with those numbers. And then also consider approval of the budget revisions that you might also make tonight with those augmentations for 27, as well as the ones that we'll be presenting this evening. So starting with the fiscal year adopted general fund budget with suggested revisions, what I show here is the adjusted budget that we're recommending would reduce the deficit for fiscal year 27 from $670,000 down to $345,000. We worked really hard to try to get it lower than that, but this was the best we could do. And in the final column to the right, I show the differences about $28,000 in less revenue, a reduction in salary and benefits of almost $200,000, a reduction in service and supplies of $160,000, and so that's what makes up the difference between what was adopted a year ago in June and where we're making the recommendations today. In the packet at attachment B was all the detail for how all that broke down and what those specific changes are for FY27. Some of those are just to kind of look at it in large kind of chunks. Some of those revenue sources are no longer available. We've commented before about the ending of RPTTF and as from the successor agency that was earlier this year finally brought to an end. And so those resources aren't going to be available. Revenue growth is slowing. And when I talk about revenue here, both we're seeing it in sales tax and we're seeing it in the growth rate of property tax are both slowing. And we've always calculated or assumed about a 3% growth rate on those. It's probably down around 2.6% year over year that we're looking at now. And so that's a little bit of a concern, especially in those two areas, because we don't have any other funding sources other than those. And so it really begins to create that. A lot of the uncertainty we're seeing in the world today, whether it's oil pricing, people shifting away from buying commodities and buying other goods and buying experiences like restaurants, is really slowing down as people are having to put more into their gas tank. So that has some concern for us. The reorging of positions that we've done over the past year is creating ongoing savings, but those costs are still increasing, and so we see that being played out in the general fund. And then in 27, the IT subscription costs are going to drop significantly due to Civic Plus, and we had outlined that prior for you as a council and to the public around the cost savings associated with eliminating a whole bunch of software tools that we will no longer need because we've brought it all under one umbrella and got significant discounting on pricing for that. Just a couple mentions about LMD and other special revenue funds. The other $4 million that are the city council is responsible for. They're going to continue to be balanced in 27. So we spent a lot of time focusing on reducing that deficit in the general fund from $667,000 down to the $345. But all those other ones will continue to be balanced going forward. And looking at those, the budget changes inside of those are pretty minimal. We haven't done a lot. We didn't feel like we needed to do a lot of changes for those other special revenue funds or the LMD. Moving to fund year-end reserves, this is a breakdown, and these are the numbers that were provided as part of the audit for each of the last few years. But when you break those down into the different component sections, they all get rolled up in the ACFR. But here we broke them out into the general fund, LMD, as well as then all the kind of the aggregate of all the other special revenue funds. You see those total amounts. So if you look at fiscal year 25, you see we're at $6.9 million in the general fund, about $3,500 in the LMD, and about $10.5 million in all the other special revenue funds combined. And those numbers are down slightly, but not dramatically. I think they continue to hold a lot of value there. And these, as Mr. Loftus mentioned earlier, a lot of times these are just the result of not spending money. And this is not there wasn't necessarily an intentional practice to put money in the bank, but when you don't spend money on things like deferred maintenance, and you don't spend money on keeping things up, and you have low salaries, and you end up saving money at the end, and that goes into a reserve fund. And we know the value of having a savings account and having a reserve to rely on for emergencies. And so the real question here, and you've made a policy statement about 40% of revenue as a target reserve fund. I think that's a really admirable and much larger than in any other jurisdiction I've ever worked in as a policy. I've known other jurisdictions that have more money than that, but as a policy, that's a pretty high policy. So you've got some room here to consider other possibilities. And we did some thinking about amongst staff, amongst leadership, thinking through what would some of those kinds of things look like. And this is a list of potential one-time budget requests that could be thought of as a good use of reserve funding that we just showed in the last chart, and some general cost estimates. But $100,000 on a sidewalk safety program, making sure the trip and fall hazards, some of the root damage that's being caused to our sidewalks, eliminating as many of those as possible to reduce the risk of injury, and to make actually the city more walkable, just as a nice benefit. The exterior paint, we're about ready to spend a chunk of money here on the interior of the library, but one possibility would be to look at the exterior paint of this building. And we gave a rough estimate of $125,000. Expanding the baseball fields, which could potentially be less than the $500,000 if we work with some local folks who would donate their time and material to help build out those ballparks, baseball fields, which would allow more young people to participate in the sports programs and enjoy that, and families and whatnot. So This would, I think this would get us two additional, one additional diamond, sorry. One additional diamond.
Where
diamond for
is that?
price.
It's behind the curve.
So Little League has developed a plan. They approached the city a few years ago
Oh,
and
they approach
to go diagonal. Yeah, and you can double. I met with them to talk because we had talked about possible stadium lights, and they said, "Don't do lights. We'd rather have you invest money in an additional field because that'll multiply how many more games and teams we can support." Little League in this community is doing fantastic. They're well over 600 kids this year, so that's amazing. They are willing to partner with us both financially and with sweat equity in developing this field and putting boots on the ground. And the only thing they ask in return is if we move forward with this plan is that one specific field they would have first right to during Little League season.
Is this taking into account both of the little, both of the organizations that have youth baseball in town? There's two, right?
There are two.
So is it just one that's offering to partner?
That's the only one I've spoken to thus far. I don't think the other organization has the numbers or the finances at this time, but I will invite them to the table.
You should not make that assumption.
And then there's also the adult soccer group that has contacted me. I happen to know the person who's interested in the lower field and doing some renovations, so maybe.
So also on this list is some tech and officer safety equipment for the police department. Firearms and things like that have expiration dates. So we ought to be we're cognizant of that. This is one estimate for some of these. Additional some signage for Endeavor Hall, so you can see it from the corner of Oak and Center Street instead of just on Center Street there. Might be really helpful, and I guess it won't prevent anybody from going up the Oak Street off-ramp, but it'll at least they'll know where Endeavor Hall is when they're going the other direction. Then looking at a potential 5-year service contract for 8 more cameras for Grove and CCP. We do, as you are well aware, have a fair amount of vandalism, kind of just stupid stuff happening at these parks. Sorry if that offends anybody, but it's just kind of, kicking boards out of the gazebo and stuff like this that really would be helpful to have cameras and some of those resources to be able to hopefully prevent the stuff from happening, but if not, at least give us a sense about who the person might have been and how do we find them and hold them responsible. So this is about responsibility as much as anything else, but we got an estimate on that and would probably save us at least some money and hopefully in repairs. City Hall security updates. So there was an assessment done by professional public safety firm that looks at City Hall and other public buildings in identifying things. We're a very open City Hall, as you know, which we like. We all like that. But we don't have easy ways to, for example, even contact the police department, which is one floor below where a lot of the staff work. Which is quite open. And so some things like safety buttons that would, call the emergency folks downstairs and help us get responses for those things. So there's some adjustments that are there. The chief is here to address, more particular questions you might have on that. Another one of the items that is something that we don't really have a current funding source for is the emergency operations plan. And the last one was done in 2018. Since then, we've passed a new hazard mitigation plan as part of the general plan, but we haven't updated the actual city emergency operations plan, and staff has changed and how and what happens there, and then responding to the issues identified in the hazard mitigation plan will be key on that. GIS, it's already in the CIP, but we really need to get a contractor to collect and organize some of the layers. Somebody who was working with the former city engineer. I've been working with them. He had done a lot of work, preliminary work, groundwork